is this reason, your main reason, the study, is that reason a sufficient enough reason to support 70% confidence?
I could argue that it's not. Is is it worthy of the 70% or the 65% or whatever? But yeah. Scientific method, you know what I mean? Like
Scientific method is an epistemology.
Epistemology. Okay. And the difference being
Oh, sorry, that was a question. Sorry. Yeah. Is that what you're saying? That
no, well, like how I, get answers from, for things, that is, I don't know if that makes any sense or not.
You okay if I record?
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, I probably wouldn't walk up if I wasn't. I saw these cameras out and I was kind of curious.
I just have to make sure.
Right.
What's your name?
My name is Seth.
Seth?
Yeah.
Okay. Good to meet you, Seth.
Yeah, good to meet you too.
My name is David. Thanks for stopping.
Yeah, no problem, David. It's kind of intrigued. Maybe I could be enlightened by something I'm not really aware of, you know what I mean?
Totally. Me too.
Yeah.
All right. So just to kind of give you an idea of what I'm doing. Is I'm interviewing folks about something that's meaningful to them.
Okay.
Something that you think is true. And what I do is, from a neutral perspective, ask questions that explore how you arrived at the conclusion and what supports your confidence that it's true.
All right. Yeah.
Does that sound cool?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there something that you want to talk about? A conclusion that you've got that's meaningful to you?
A conclusion that I got that's meaningful to me.
Yeah. Something you think is true.
That's a hard one. That is a very, very, because it's so broad, that is. That's why it's a hard question to answer, because you can think about so many things, so many assets in life,
Seth, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
So
I'm trying to narrow it down to something specific, something I find to be true.
Yeah. One way you can think of it is, if you found out that it was not true tomorrow, your behavior would change.
If I found out if it was false, my behavior would change tomorrow. That is very interesting. I'm trying to think on my day-to-day basis what I need and what goes on. I'm trying to think of what matters of true. I could say the obvious, I know gas in my car is gonna make me go to work. I'm thinking of the obvious things right now. I'm trying to think the more broader things like that. If I go to work, I'll be able to pay my bills, or like if I knew that wasn't the case, if I knew I didn't have to go to work tomorrow to pay my bills, I'd probably do something a lot different in my life, because that's all my life seems to revolve around right now is work.
Work?
Okay. Work. Like the last 2 weeks I worked like a 60-hour week, which isn't like a lot of hours, but it is like, you're taking a considerable amount of time out of your week. And that's been like stressful and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, trying to give you like a better, something that you could actually argue, or something that you could like, enlighten me about or something, so I'm trying here. Do you have any suggestions?
Well,
honestly?
just to be clear, the intention is not to argue.
Well, yeah, we'll come to a conclusion.
But just to kind of, for both of us to be on the same team, exploring what supports your confidence in a conclusion that you've got. I've got a thought experiment that we can do.
Okay, yeah, I'm down. Yeah, that makes it easy. Yeah, opens up the...
This is my can of words.
Okay.
Just has a bunch of words in it. I'll have you pick one.
All right.
And you can define the word, or you can talk about the word however you'd like.
Okay.
And sometimes that generates an idea that you might want to talk about. And you don't. It doesn't have to be about this, but this can maybe spark it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't like the word, you can pass it. You can pick another one, or whatever.
All right. Relativity. Yeah, that's relativity. So how I'm relative to the things I am around me. That's an interesting concept, like, because you can think about it in like space, how we're never in the exact same place in the exact same time ever. If you think about how the Earth's moving through space and how the sun revolves around a black hole, or how all that stuff's taking place, how we're never really in the same spot at any ever given time, because like the trajectory of the planet, it's really interesting to think about, and how like the moon affects the trajectory of Earth, and so relative, and so I always think like how astronomers, or people do astrology and stuff, how hard it must be to be thinking about our relative position, relative to everything else, to determine where everything else is. But it's like, how do we even determine where we are,
Right.
So it's real interesting to me. Relativity.
How would you define relativity?
Relativity. So I'd go back probably to the base word of relevant. That's relativity. But those are two different words, aren't they? Relevant and relativity.
Yeah, relevant, or the root word would be like relate.
Relate. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because that's how it'd be like, how does one thing affect another thing? Whether that be like, it could even be like a, grass and the tree. How they are connected in one way. The grass might take too much water, or the tree might take too. They're relative to each other when it comes to like biology and nature. So, and then people are relative to each other. Like, how relevant is Kim Kardashian to me? Not really. But
how does the fact that you need to work affect? How does that relate to your stress level?
It correlates a lot. It seems like, as I got home stress and work stress, and I don't know how to put it. You kind of balance them both out, but if one's out of whack, it throws your whole life out of whack. But there's a strong correlation between how much I'm working and how many hours I put in versus how stressed out I am, because of like the lack of my ability to do things and like interact with people. I find myself being like more and more antisocial, because I'm just like, I get home, I only got 30-40 minutes. What am I going to do in 30-40 minutes? How are you going to go have a meaningful conversation with someone, or how are you going to go do anything like that, or have a cool activity to do, anything?
How would you prefer your situation be, as far as that goes?
I'm at the point where I want where I want to go to work. It's something I at least enjoy doing, where it's not so much of a bother. Like, I'm okay with the fact that I spend 60 hours a week doing that. I feel like that would give me like a little bit of relief. I'm really passionate about it's like solar energy or renewable energies and stuff, and getting like reducing our carbon footprint. I used to be a mechanic, but then I came to the conclusion that if I'm a mechanic, I'm just like manifesting the idea that we should be running off of fossil fuels to begin with, because that's what they run off of, you know.
Why should we reduce our carbon footprint?
Why should we be? For the people after us, not so much for me. You know, I could probably live my whole life, burn 1,000 gallons of gasoline, and it never affected me personally.
Mm-hmm.
But it's for the people after me who have to live after, you know, have to take care of this planet afterwards. Like there's, might be their issue.
Okay,
You know?
so reducing our carbon footprint benefits future generations.
And the idea, if climate change is correct and all the, you know, the scientific theory about that is correct, then yes, because it is a theory, you know, because I can't say for certain that you know, global warming is absolute and that's, you know, we're causing it, because, you know, climate change happens throughout centuries, you know, without human intervention. But there's a bunch of scientific data suggesting that it is because of us. And
we could talk about that. How confident are you that climate change is real? Human-caused climate change.
Human cause. I'm like, it would probably be like a 70-30. You know, like I'm high on the likelihood that it does exist because of all the some experiments that I've heard of. You know, that make a good argument for it.
Okay. We can talk about that.
Okay, yeah. So one experiment was like it's back in the day. It was like in the 19. I don't know. I wish I could know the exact people who did this, but it was a very simple experiment. The lady, she put different kinds of gases in different kinds of tubes and let them, you know, hit by atmospheric light. One of them was carbon dioxide. One of them was oxygen. You know, the data suggested that the carbon dioxide, you know, the tube with the carbon dioxide in it, got a lot hotter. You know, and in her theory and her conclusion that an atmosphere of that gas would produce a higher temperature. You know, but who knows if that's applicable, you know, glass tube to the real world, but how just the effect of that gas being in the tube, you know, affected the amount of heat I was able to get transferred. And then, so with that fact, you know, then the amount of, you know, carbon dioxide that's created when we use cars, you know, I could conclude that maybe, you know, I don't know, that could cause the Earth to warm up, you know, in a way that's unforeseen.
That experiment kind of demonstrates on a smaller scale what, like cars and stuff, could possibly be doing.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Well, yeah, explains that more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere would lead to, you know, a higher climate, a higher temperature climate, and cars emit a lot of carbon dioxide.
Okay. How much does that experiment contribute to your 70% confidence in human-caused climate change being real?
A lot of it, you know, because that's the main contributor, or the belief of, you know, like when scientists bring it up, it's carbon dioxide, or like that's what they. So that's more of where all the belief comes from. I guess it'd be like a high majority of it. If I didn't know that the, you know, carbon dioxide was, like, if I knew that wasn't true, right, I would probably drive differently. I don't drive differently. Money's more of an issue than my carbon footprint, you know, honestly, when it comes down to it.
Yeah, like on a day-to-day basis.
On a day-to-day basis. And also I think about, I didn't want to derail what you just asked.
Sure, that's fine.
But when it also comes to climate change, like me driving my car, how small of a drop in the bucket that is compared to all the grand scheme of things going around the world. Like, I don't know, just a power plant, you know, just running off of coal, you know, I'm sure that, you know, outputs a lot more carbon dioxide than I'll ever in my lifetime, you know. And,
okay. What is the main reason that supports your 70% confidence?
What's the main reason? I guess, going back to that carbon dioxide study, you know.
Okay, the carbon dioxide study.
Yeah, we can just call it that. That's probably not the right term for it, but it's the gist. That was the gist of the experiment.
Okay.
And the conclusion of it.
So if you didn't know about that study, your confidence would go down?
Yeah, because I'd be less knowledgeable of what is actually going on. Because I don't like to just believe something because I believe it. It's more of like I gotta have a reason to believe it. It reminded me of like the Bible, and my parents they were religious, or my dad was, my mom wasn't, and how applicable that all that stuff was. Like just made it like, man, I can't learn this, or
You didn't feel like you had good enough reasons to believe in it, or?
yeah, I'm trying to like, yeah, that was. Sorry, that was a different way of putting it. I'm trying to like rethink.
Sure.
Um,
and don't let me put words in your mouth.
Yeah. No, it's just but if there isn't like something there to prove the facts or something, like if there isn't something for me to go off of, it's really hard to believe it. It's really hard just to like to take someone's word, that is, and so that's why I felt like that study was important. And
okay,
yeah.
How much does this conclusion affect your behavior? Like, what percentage of your life is affected, or how much of your behavior, your day-to-day behavior, would
kind of a significant, because at one point I wanted to be a mechanic, and like I said, I kind of gave up that conclusion because I felt like it manifested the idea that I was supporting the whole idea, because like if you make cars run, you're
contributing to the problem?
Yeah, because because the car needs gasoline to run, right? And for you to repair the vehicle and maintain the vehicle's life, I mean, you could argue that the carbon footprint of the vehicle being created is more of an issue, and to maintain the vehicle, you could be like, you're making less of a carbon footprint than to recreate another vehicle that doesn't use gasoline.
To make it more efficient and that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, what was your question again?
Like, on a scale from 0 to 100, how much of a percentage of your behavior is affected by
I'd
this
say
conclusion?
Like at 80%, because I'd have a whole different career and a whole different mindset, and my whole job would probably be a little bit more meaningful if I didn't have this conclusion in life.
Okay.
That if I just ignored the facts, facts to me, everyone can argue what facts are, but the facts to me were that I'm supporting it, and that just seemed wrong with what I really believe,
And this study supports that fact?
I believe that study supports that more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere would bring to a higher climate, and that cars produce a lot of carbon dioxide.
Okay.
And I guess that's the theory, that those things. Well, it's not even that. There's other things too. Like we think about the U.S. and our carbon footprint, and it's just like a drop in the bucket compared to like other countries who have like totally unregulated laws and regulations. When it comes to climate change, like how we we'll ship some of our garbage over to other countries for them to deal with, and they'll just fucking burn it. And it's just like, well, that's horrible. That's just awful.
It's like taking a step back.
Yeah, right. And it's like, that's a big thing to consider. So it's like, how much does me driving my car around matter? But like I said, my driving habits don't get affected really by my carbon footprint, more of or the price of gas. Okay. But the day-to-day basis, if you were going to think about my job and how I live my life in that regard, it made a big difference. Because I probably would have started a Jiffy Lube, some oil tech, doing something like that. But it just rubbed me the wrong way, and it still does.
Okay. This main reason, the study that you saw, what percentage of your confidence is supported by that reason?
Like I was saying, a high level of, if not the whole 70%, like 65%, because there's no other reason to believe that cars are going to make climate change any better or worse if you didn't have that study, because the effects of the carbon dioxide would be null. You wouldn't know them, that is.
Okay. All right.
Because then you could almost argue that the carbon dioxide would be good for the environment, because if you didn't do that study, if you were to, like, I don't know, So it draws like a high of the conclusion. Otherwise, it would be like one of those, like a Bible talk at that point. You know, just believe me because I heard it from somebody I really trusted might have said it, and maybe that's where the other 5% came from. Would be just like the influence around me, because I feel like that plays a big role. Like, you know, if your dad's sitting there preaching to you every day about a certain thing, even though it might be true, you know, when you go out to the world, you have that belief, and it's not true.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, so a high 65% to 70%, a hard majority.
Okay. How reliable is a scientific study towards making conclusions?
Oh. Okay. It depends on the author and the public, because you can't just. A lot of people could do a scientific study, you know, and to have a reputable source, I feel like, is important as well, and then have that source be reviewed and peer reviewed, or maybe trialed again. You know, nothing's more, what do you call that? Like trustworthy, I guess, is like an experiment. You know, you test the experiment, you do the experiment, and then being able to do that experiment again with, you know, all over again somewhere else, and do it again. And, you know, that's when it starts to become, you know, like irrefutable. Like you can't argue it at this point, and so the scientific study is only as good as it's like the due diligence to make sure it was correct. You know.
How do you determine the difference between the two? Like
something that's maybe been peer reviewed, or something that's been viewed a long time for a long period of history, versus something that's new. You know, because like if something's new, like there hasn't been a lot of time to argue the point, and because sometimes the scientific paper is released and it's totally false, you know, and then it takes a while until other people argue it and be like, hey, that's not true, you know. And that study was done in like the 1930s or something. You know?
The carbon
monoxide. That was done a long time ago, and by some lady. So and I feel like it's really you could do this, you know, if you really wanted to. I could go get a bottle of carbon dioxide and a bottle with more oxygen, you know, sediment. If I really wanted to do the experiment, it's doable. This isn't something that's super far-fetched, out of the reach of my knowledge. So and that's another reason why, like, I believe that study to be true, or like how relatable the study is, how applicable the study is.
Because you could duplicate it.
Yes.
It sounds like.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. So
but back to the question. The question is how
reliable
is a scientific study? You know,
yeah.
like all on its own. You know, you could honestly say 50-50 at that point, but like with the with the quotes, you know, like with like no peer review, you're not considering any of that. You just, it's a scientific article, and I'm just giving it just that.
There's criteria that you would need in a scientific study for you to accept it to be legitimate.
Right.
Okay.
Correct. You know, some kind of backing.
Got it.
Because it reminds me of like what was it? It was Prager. It was Prager University. They had this video, and they were just bashing climate change, and you know, and I like started digging a little bit. And Prager University was paid for by all these oil tycoons, and it just rubbed me the wrong way. It just like there was a bunch of disinformation, and I was like, wow, you know, I felt really good about doing that little bit of, because that also is super important. Who's paying for all this? You know, who did the scientific research? Who is this guy?
All of the money.
Yeah, where did all this money come from, and what kind of conclusion do they want to get to in that? Because sometimes you can probe, you know, like there's a big error in scientific study, like you put the answer to your question in the question, and that, you know, fucks up the whole experiment. You're like,
it's like poisoning the well.
Or will carbon dioxide make, you know, this glass tube hotter? You know, that's almost putting, you know, the answer into the question, like that it will get it hotter, versus what are the effects of, you know, sunlight on carbon dioxide? You know, where it's...
Yeah, it's like you've already made your conclusion, and then you're looking for reasons to support it.
Yeah, versus just like what are, you know, going back to what is actually happening. Just
following the evidence where it goes.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Is there a way to tell if this was not true? Human-caused climate change is real.
Is there a way? At the moment, not really. You know, we could use all of our scientific data to suggest that it is happening. But once again, it's all theory, and you could argue that it's not human caused. There's no argue that climate change is happening. It's more of a fact of like the argument is what is causing it. But and then I'm not trying to debate that it's not our effects, but I'm trying to keep an open mind. That is, I hate to just be so affirmative with how I talk, and because I just don't feel like that's the proper way to go about it.
And that's why you're at 70 and not higher?
Yes.
Would that be accurate?
Yeah, because what if I get another study that shows something that totally contradicts what I believe?
That's peer reviewed.
Yeah, that would be
that you could duplicate.
That I could duplicate. That would that has the same kind of like, and who'd it come from and all that stuff. Yeah. So if I get another study,
if that happened, you would lower your confidence in it.
Oh yeah, I would lower. Yeah, if that did happen, I would lower my confidence in that climate change is a human-caused thing.
Is there anything that could happen that could cause you to raise your confidence?
Oh yeah, I feel like time is going to be the biggest teller. There's like a graph of how much carbon dioxide has been emitted into the environment over like the past 100 years, and it's just like a giant, the straight up. It's like 400 parts per million, or I don't know. It's very large, compared to what it used to be before, and so it's only time will tell. Like I can't. What would give me more belief?
More belief. Raise your confidence.
What would raise? Like rising sea levels. Those would all be back to that climate change exists, instead of that it's human made.
Yeah.
Maybe if they should show there's already a high correlation between the amount of carbon dioxide in the environment to all these increases in temperature, so it's hard to ignore that, but as time goes along, if that keeps in check, then that just gives me more confidence that this is an actual thing that's happening. Because more and more carbon dioxide, and it just keeps getting worse. So maybe maybe it's a correlation, or one's affecting the other. I don't know. I don't know what the right word is. Correlation, like correlation and effect.
Yeah,
it's not coincidence.
Yeah, because this happened at the same time, they must be back to related.
Yeah, relativity. Yeah, relative to each other.
Okay. You okay on time?
Yeah. Here in about 30 minutes, I'm gonna head out or so.
Cool. I just have, I think I just have one more. Actually, two more questions.
Okay.
Generally speaking, what percentage of your beliefs would you prefer to be accurate or true?
I would prefer 75%, because that gives me a high confidence to live my life, but then that also leaves me open-minded in a way that I could, experience the world, not be ignorant.
You want 75% of your beliefs to be true. Is that what I'm hearing?
That sounds kind of low now. Hearing it from someone else say it back to me. But in this search of real truth, that's why I would want it so low, is so that I could keep an open mind, and or it could be I could have it at a higher standard, and I guess still have an open mind. Maybe 85%, but having it too high at let's say 99% would almost make me closed-minded, that everything's absolute and everything is exactly how I think it is, when that's a lot of times that's not. You get another piece of information, about something that because I don't know everything. There's so many topics. Like if you talk to me about, I don't know, healthcare pretty much, I'd be like, I don't know nothing, about how to take care of people, or, taking care of wounds. No, I don't got none of that skills. But
this question is about your preference, though.
Yeah. So how would I prefer it to be?
What percentage of your conclusions that you make about the world that we share would you prefer to be accurate?
Okay, so that means that they're already true, I guess, but
maybe I can ask this.
Yeah, because I don't know. I get caught up in the fact that I like to stay open-minded.
Yeah.
No, I get caught up to be too certain about anything. Yes, I want 100%. I'd love to be 100% confident about all the things I am.
Okay.
But I just don't feel like that's realistic, or
Right. Yeah, and this is why it's about if I were to say, okay, so here's my question. If I were to say I want all of my beliefs to line up with reality.
Mm-hmm.
I want that to be the case. I know that that's probably not the case, but if I were to say that I want 100% of my beliefs to be true, would you consider me to be closed-minded?
If you had irrefutable and if you had good reasoning for what you believe in, because I feel like that's
my preference. Just my preference that I want all of my beliefs to be true. Does me wanting all of my beliefs to be true cause you to think I'm closed-minded, in other words?
No, because it's a desire. I guess if you said if you said all of my ideas are true, then I would consider you closed-minded. But for you to have the desire to,
that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, because
so.
Yeah, not for having the desire, but because I feel like there's a difference, in that right there. You're not having the desire to be open-minded and explore the truth is one thing, but to be I am the truth is yeah.
So let's use your word, desire. What percentage of your beliefs or your conclusions about the world do you desire to be accurate?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, I desire that to be 100%.
It's a weird question because it depends on how you ask it.
And how you interpret it, because everybody might just not pick it apart. Somebody might be like, well.
Yeah. I always get interested in folks when they say I don't. It's not important for me for all of my beliefs to be accurate, or it's not important for me for my beliefs to be accurate. And so it's am I asking the question in the right way so that the actual question that I'm asking is the one that's being received, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right.
Okay, cool.
I totally desire all of them to be true.
Okay.
But I'm totally understanding of the fact that that's not realistic all the time.
Sure, yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so my last question is this reason, your main reason, the study, is that reason a sufficient enough reason to support 70% confidence?
I could argue that it's not. Is it worthy of the 70% or the 65% or whatever? But yeah. I believe it is. Because it goes back to how I could go back if I really, really wanted to. I could go back and do it.
You could duplicate it and it's peer-reviewed.
Yeah.
Okay, so all that.
Mainly the duplication, because that's the biggest one. That I could go back and do it myself and then just be like, well, he wasn't lying.
You don't have to take somebody's word for it.
Yeah. And that's why I give it such a high standard.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Seth.
Yeah, thank you, David.
Do you have any questions for me?
Not really. I was just, coming to chit chat, I guess.
Cool, awesome.
It's really coming down.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I've got a YouTube channel called Sound Epistemology. Does your phone have a camera on it, I assume?
Yep.
It's really you can take a picture of this, and then if you want,
I'll have to give it a second. My phone's so weird. So at one point I replaced the screen on it. That's I was trying to reduce my carbon footprint, not just throw my phone away. But happen anyways. I got a screen replacement. Anytime like water, my phone gets touched weird, the whole screen just stops working and I have to reset it.
Oh, really?
You know, it's a big pain in the butt, but it was still worth the $100 I paid for because like the phone, it's not that I like broke it, like, you know, the glass or anything. It just took the screen itself just stopped working. So I was like, oh.
Not much you can do, but like,
yeah.
You can tell it what to do from there.
Yeah. So I was like, and I even ordered another phone. So I ordered another phone and told the guys, like I got my new phone before they even fixed this one. It took them like 2 weeks, like an absurd amount of time.
Oh, wow.
I wanted to bring it back to them because there were some other issues that they had, but it was just like something that was like, I'll just take the L. You know, it's like the phone works, I guess.
Yeah, and we rely on them so much nowadays.
Yeah, and that's another thing. It really sucks when like for instance right now when you're like, oh yeah, can you take a picture of this? It's like, oh yeah, my phone just glitched out. I can't do anything. I gotta reset it. Okay.
While we're waiting for that, I'll give you something here. I normally have blue pieces too, but I'm out of the blue pieces, so you get to choose one of these. And the idea is, if you want to have another chat, if you see me again, and have another chat and earn another piece, and then you get to earn the whole set.
Oh, okay.
This says Street Epistemology on it. That is the practice that we just went through.
Okay.
And my YouTube channel is Sound Epistemology, and that's where these conversations get uploaded to. Look it up.
Yeah.
Do you want to take one of these puzzle pieces?
Yeah, why not? You always in the Olympia area, or like?
Yeah, I'm usually, on nice days, I'm usually here. I'm up and down the Chehalis Western Trail.
Okay.
I'm up at Burfoot Park, Priest Point, up at the Capitol. So just kind of random spots.
All right, for sure.
So yeah, well, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. It was good talking to you because I'm like, I don't know, compassionate about climate change and whatnot, or it seems like it's a big thing in my life because it's affecting my career. You know, like if I didn't believe in that, then I would probably be doing a lot different thing. I'd probably just be all for the money. Who cares about next generation? You know, because it ain't gonna affect them or whatever. Because that would be the conclusion. All right,
Cool.
Well,
That was awesome. Take care. Have a good walk.